Hello and welcome to Fergie's Gum Podcast. My name's Nathan Irvine and I'm joined, as always, by Mr. Paul Cropper. How are you doing, mate?
Morning. All right, mate. United. Yeah. Oh, excited. I don't know why I'm excited. Just love it.
Is it because we're doing the end of season awards? Because
that'll be why I'm excited. That's exactly why I'm excited. That's exactly what it is, Nathan. Yeah. Three copies deep.
Oh, nice. I think I'm 2 and about 6 protein shakes deep. So it might be a windy one. Hopefully that doesn't get picked up on this. Anyway, so this season, and I know we're kind of just having a chat about it now, but this season really did feel like a season of two halves. We had Ruben Amorim up until January, where it was, just bits of good performances, mostly negative performances. It became very clear that he wanted to leave halfway through that season or his 6 months of tenure. It was hit the pits, I think, for about 6 months. Then obviously he gets booted on January 6th. Got Darren Fletcher comes in, doesn't really change anything, still look a bit crap. And then Michael Carrick is the person that wins out over Ruud van Nistelrooy and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer in terms of coming in and being the interim coach. And the rest, as they say, is history. Because Michael Carrick did get Manchester United into the Champions League places. Amorim did leave us in 6th place, but I don't think we was ever going to qualify for the Champions League under him. Michael Carrick did. He's got the head coach role for next season. He actually finished with more Premier League points than any other manager during his tenure, which is fantastic return. Absolutely amazing. So, he more than deserves that. And we got rid of Ruben Amorim, which, if rumours to be believed, he wanted out anyway. He kept having arguments with Omar Barada. He kept having arguments with Jason Wilcox. He wanted to be sacked, and he finally got his wish and his golden handshake. Was it 9 million quid that he got?
Not bad, is it?
Good.
Not bad.
Good if you can get it.
It definitely felt that way, though, didn't it, with him? Definitely felt like he was just 1 foot out the door, and he kept defending him, didn't he? And then there was a turning point with a lot of people. You go, yeah, he wants out. So do you know what? It's felt like we've only had the Premier League, really, haven't we? It felt like a really long season, hasn't it? It's felt like 2 seasons put into one. We've been put through a lot as United fans, but it does, because when we've done these reviews, you go back and you go, was that this season? Wow. How long ago? I think we've all aged quite a lot, haven't we, United fans, this year? But this pre-season, I think we'll all be a bit younger and a bit fresher, won't we? Go on, United.
Yeah. I think we're going into the next season with a bit more positivity, especially after last season. With Ruben Amorim on the pitch and saying that, the good times are coming. And I've said this many times before. He was right. It just wasn't under him. So it's interesting that we are moving into pre-season. Got transfers to get in. We'll have a little chat about those at the end of this podcast. But for the majority of it, we're going to talk about the season that was. And first up, let's get the most obvious one out of the way right now. So let's do, and we both agree on this person, right? It's pretty obvious.
Well, we've not even spoke about who it is, but it's got to be on it, yeah.
Of course. Manchester United player of the season is Bruno Fernandes. Was there ever any doubts, mate? Ever?
No, it was, when you actually look at who is our player of the season, there's a big gulf between what Bruno did and the rest of the team, to be fair. So it's you try, because I do lists, don't I? Because I'm strange.
Yeah, you love a list.
I thought, I love a list, but there was no list, was there? It's just one man. There you go. He's our best player by a mile. Pulled the team through tough times. Turned up almost every single game. Every single game, to be fair, Bruno. And he's obviously benefited from being moved further up the pitch, but I think he's grown even more this year. I think he's just developed his game a bit more, and he seems a lot more comfortable being the best player at the club. Yeah, brilliant player.
I think all the stuff that happened with Ruben Amorim, like playing out of position. I think Bruno Fernandes will play anywhere on the pitch for any manager, but I think where he evolved as a captain, as a player for Manchester United, was he could see that there was no one taking the games by the scruff of the neck and leading by example. Like, remember, end of this time last year, Manchester United were trying to push him out the door. He
Yes.
was the subject of £110 million bid from Saudi, I think it was, which they wanted to take it, but his wife said no, let's stay here. He said no, he wanted to stay at Manchester United. Then he was forced to play in midfield, like in a pivot with Casemiro, which was unnatural. And it didn't benefit him at all. But he came through all of that, as you say, and the histrionics, the gesturing to the referees seems to have calmed down. He seems to be like picking the ball up and going, right, I'll take this free kick, I'm going to score from it, or I'm going to whip it in. I need to do something to get this team ticking. And that's what Bruno's done all season. And as you say, I think he's gone up a level. I think he has raised his game because he's seen that no one else was going to do it. Casemiro as well. You know, you could make a case for him being player of the season, way below Bruno Fernandes, but second in that list, probably Casemiro, probably Senna Lamens, maybe. Do you know what I mean? But Bruno was head and shoulders above the rest, right?
Yes. Oh, yeah. Just looking at his stats, obviously, he broke the assist record, 9 goals, 35 matches, 9 goals, 21 assists, 5 yellow cards. I like that. Loves a yellow card, Bruno. Just, did you think he had that season in him? Did you think he had that? Did you think at the end of last season he's never going to get any better?
I think we're big enough to both admit that we was interested in him leaving next season, right? This time last season, I think we were ready for him to go so that we could get Belieber in. So no, I didn't think he had it in him. No. But he has, and he's raised it, and he's got the assist record in the Premier League, which is a huge milestone for him. It's massive for the club. I think he could have had about 30 or 40, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
If you'd have had the people around him that were finishing the chances he was creating. So yeah, I didn't think it was going to happen. Can he push on and do it again next year? I think he can. He's rarely injured. He's always up for it, and he's desperate to win silverware for Manchester United.
Yeah, brilliant. We've all got a little bit of egg on it because I think probably 7 or 8 out of 10 people at last season, the beginning of last season, we were all saying he's selling. He's the only man that we can sell to get 100 odd million, get rid of him, invest in the squad. So yeah, for him to shove that down our throats, and I love that. Brilliant. For him to just go, no, I'm going to show you that I want to stay here. I want to be a club legend. Because before that, he wasn't really spoken of as a club legend, was he? Before this season.
Yeah.
It's turned around that he and if he builds on it, and the way Bruno plays the game, I should have checked his age really. He can do that till he's 34, 35 because it's not based on pace, it's not based on power, it's based on his brain, really, and his will to run. So if you can keep Bruno, and you should be able to keep him for the next 3 or 4 seasons, really, he's gonna break some more records because you build that team around him. And that's what you do with a player who's world-class like Bruno. You build that team around him. There's not many number 10s in the world as good as Bruno Fernandes. And he deserves all the credit and all the accolades that he's going to get, basically, after the back of this season.
That's interesting, actually, that you mentioned that he's world-class. Do you believe that he is a world-class player, Bruno Fernandes?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So you do. Right. So my City supporting mate, who basically I'm sure he was trying to gold me, but he wasn't having that Bruno Fernandes was world class. He asked me if I thought he was, and I said, yeah, he's world class. He's the best. Like, he's created the most chances out of Europe's top 5 leagues, I think, out of any player in those leagues. So, you know, you can't argue with that. He then beat Kevin De Bruyne in terms of the assists, which is, you know, Manchester City supporting mate. But he's not having it because of the lack of trophies, he says. I don't think that necessarily states who is world-class and who isn't. I think if you want to get down to it, it's who's done it on the world stage. So if it's like World Cups, European Cups, competitions and things like that, I get it. But Bruno, you could pick him up and put him into any team and he'd create that many chances for whoever's playing around him.
Yeah, world-class can be... A lot of people have different things from it. I think you go with, would he get in the first 11 in the world if you pick the best. And like I've just said there, in that number 10 position, if you went around Europe now, PSG don't really have one. They have a lot of midfielders. Bruno Fernandes is slot in there now. You got to look at Arsenal. Bruno Fernandes would get in that Arsenal team. You look at the City team.
Yeah.
Bruno Fernandes would get in that City team. Real Madrid, Bayern Munich. Yeah, he'd be frightening in them teams as well, wouldn't he? And unfortunately for him, we've said this a few times, he's in a period at Manchester United where we're going through a tough period. If you'd have put him in those top class teams, he would have won a Ballon d'Or. I guarantee it.
Yeah. And that's why I said that he's world class, because he is. The other thing, just as we was doing like the special mentions for the people that finished second, but Senna Lammens, special word on him, just came in and just created calm more than anything else. That's the best thing that you can say about him, because we weren't getting that with Onana, with Bayern. We were getting like heart attack moments with both of those goalkeepers, and it didn't look like it was ever going to end. Lammens came in really self-assured, caught that ball against Sunderland, and that was it. Right, okay. So goalkeepers can catch then. All right, fair enough. There we go. And I mean, Tony Colton, get him a statue built outside Old Trafford, mate. 18 million. He pushed that transfer hard. He didn't even come to United with any Belgian caps. He was like in and out of the Royal Antwerp team. But what a player. So I think if there was anyone else on that list that could have been player of the season, it would have been Senna Lammens. But it is Manchester United player of the season is Bruno Fernandes. Right, let's move on to another quite obvious one, and then we'll get into the more edgier options down the list. Manchester United's goal of the season. I'll let you go first, mate. We've got our own opinions on these. We're not going to be agreeing on all of them, but what is your Manchester United goal of the season?
A few of them have got me out of my seat this year, but there's one that just stands head and shoulders, I think, above everything, and that is Patrick Dorgu v Arsenal. What a strike that was.
So we both agree. So Manchester United's goal of the season goes to Patrick Dorgu against Arsenal. It had to be. Who knew he had that in his locker?
Why didn't that get goal of the season? Have you seen? I watched match the other day.
Harrison Reed.
Awful. And I was thinking, why is that? It got me questioning whether it was that good. And then you watch it back and you go, that's an unbelievable strike. And because there was Dorgu, he was on a bit of a roll then, wasn't he? And you thought, he's doing all right. And then he pulled that out of the bag. Where's that come from? Where's that strike? And I was jumping around like an idiot. The neighbours were jumping around like an idiot. And we're all, what a goal. Absolutely fantastic. Yeah. Didn't know he had that in his locker. Superb. This well worthy of goal of the season. That brilliant.
The other contenders that we had, and obviously this can be for how we felt about them as well. Harry Maguire's goal against Liverpool at Anfield, the winner.
Yeah.
When Bruno popped it in. You wasn't having that Bruno's cross was quality.
No. Still not having it.
He's still not having it now. He's still not having it. I remember that. But I was like, the technique on that. And that was, and I know it's been covered in depth now, but that was Bruno's first assist of the season.
It was.
October. Yeah. Mad. But what an assist. So the Harry Maguire one, when you talk about getting out of the seat, he's not having the assist. Let's just focus on the goal. But so like Harry Maguire's goal against Liverpool got me out of my seat. Absolutely celebrating all over the place. Even Brian Mbeumo's goal, the early one that he scored at Old Trafford, that was fantastic as well. Cunha's goal against Arsenal.
Yes, another great strike. Yep.
Another superb goal. But the one that I would put second to Dorgy Best against Arsenal would be Sesko's. Was it against Burnley? Was it against Burnley when he banged it into the top corner? He came crossing in from the right.
West Ham.
I think it was Bruno.
West Ham.
Yeah, that's it.
West Ham. Yeah.
Impossible angle. What the hell? How? I'm still trying to work that out now.
I bet it made that noise, doink, didn't it, off his toe? Just doink into his... That's just a noise.
Unstoppable.
But it was a good finish, that. And it's he's got those weird finishes in him, and he Sesko, the strange ones.
Yeah,
How's he got that? How's he done that? And we said
true.
this about him before we bought him, Sesko. He's funny you mentioned that. The one I've put there second, that I just really enjoyed it. Reminding me of when, do you remember at the Emirates when Wayne Rooney and Park Ji-sung just went hell
Yeah,
for leather? I think they were wearing
yeah,
his top actually.
they were.
Was the away goal, the Sesko goal away at Everton? I loved it. I thought that was
Yeah.
a fully Manchester United goal. The way he sprinted, and I can't remember who it was he left for dead, but he just left it. He just
Who
left
was
it.
it? Tarkowski. Tarkowski, wasn't it?
Possibly, yeah. Yeah, I bet he's still
Yeah.
recovering. I needed his inhaler, didn't he? Get your blue inhaler, Tarkovsky.
He's still trying to catch him now.
He is, yeah. But the way it was Cunha and Bumo slotted, and then it was put to him, and the finish from I thought it was a lovely goal, just fully Manchester United. But Dorgu, as with Bruno Fernandes, was 2 or 3 levels above that on it. So yeah, well deserved, Patrick Dorgu.
Let's move on to a few of the kind of edgier ones, left field ones, but I think they're worth doing anyway. Manchester United Unsung Hero Award. Who have you got?
Yeah, you touched on him earlier for me. The goalkeeper, Senna Lamens. I think he's been brilliant. I have got another name there, which would be controversial, but I just want to go for Senna. I just want to give him some praise for a 23-year-old, like you said earlier, to come in after the mayhem that we've had with goalkeepers, because there was. Well, I think, well, we didn't argue about it, but I think Ahmad wanted Martinez. There was talk. I want the getting Donnarumma, which I was fully in. Get Donnarumma, get him. We can't go all out and get a kid and bring him in. He's only going to be back up. If we get him in, we need to go and get a number one. And he shut that down with that first catch, like you said. Just completely went, no, I'm all right here. And from then on, he's grown. And he just looks like a Premier League player, doesn't he? And 23-year-old,
Yeah.
the price that we paid for him as an unknown to come in at Old Trafford and take that number 1 shirt, unbelievable. Very young for a goalkeeper. The stature he's got, the calmness he's got. I didn't think there was a goalkeeper like that around Europe, in the world, that you can just go and get, and he's just going to come in and go in there. So unsung hero for me, Senna Lamens. I think he's been amazing, Nathan. And it shows, because I was just going mad at the goalkeepers every single week, just going mad. I'm like, what is going on here? And as soon as he come in, those two have gone out the door. Please don't ever return. And now we're thinking he could be a United player for 15 years. Then.
Yeah. I think that's the fact that we're not talking about goalkeeping mistakes. I know he's had a couple, but it's a long season. You're going to get them. He's still young. He's still raw. The fact that we're not talking about week after week, oh, what was Onana doing? Oh, why didn't Bayern come and claim that? No. Lamens has come in and he's gone, right, okay, yeah, I'll do my job. And when you talk about unsung, I've actually got someone different, but when you talk about unsung heroes, that's exactly the type of player that you're talking about. It's not a sexy position playing in nets, and it's the one where you feel the most loneliness when you do make a mistake. But he's come in and he just looks calm all the time. They're just those players that you just think, like, he's dependable. I can depend on him. I know what I'm going to get from him. And you can see that through the defenders as well and the midfielders. They know that they can trust him to save from distance, to come out and claim a corner, to, even if it is a one-on-one situation, to at least put the attacker in a position where it's not easy. Do you know what I mean? Just moving out of the way. And I watched that Sapanov for PSG the other night. He didn't save a single shot in 120 minutes.
Yeah, it was garbage.
I know he didn't have to make many saves at all, but the one he did have to make, I felt like he made himself smaller rather than bigger. It had a bit of a whiff of the Ryan Giggs versus David Seaman in the FA Cup.
Yes.
However, he went smaller, and I think he should have saved it because it wasn't into the roof of the net. It was just above him. thought it was bad. But then you get Senna Lamens, and you look at him and the way that he's been this season, and yeah, I think you're absolutely right. He's definitely an unsung hero. We've talked about it a lot, but in terms of column inches, he's never going to get those, unless he's pinging assist after assist every game or saving penalties after game. But yeah, exactly.
Don't want that from a goalkeeper. We've also we have mentioned a few times where he's not moved his feet quick enough, haven't we? And that's the good thing about Senny Lamans. He's not the finished article, and he's going to get better. So for him to be our unsung hero, he's probably my second on the list for player of the season. For him to be there now in his first season, just think what that kid's going to be like in 3 or 4 seasons. He's going to be, hopefully, touch wood, he's going to be unbelievable for Manchester United. Great signing, brilliant unsung hero. Who have you got?
Potential captain material for me as well.
Ooh,
throw that out there for Senna Lamans in the future. I think he's got captain's mentality about him. Right, okay. So for my Manchester United Unsung Hero Award, it goes to Luke Shaw. Because for the same type of reasons that Senna Lamans has got it, he's just had a tidy season. He started every Premier League game, which is the first time in a long time. And he's done what's been asked of him. I know we can sit here and complain that he's not as dynamic anymore. Do you remember like the overlapping runs that he used to do with Rashford and getting on the inside? And, he still showed that he can do that. He showed that against Nottingham Forest when he scored that goal, which was a lovely finish. And, turns into Roberto Carlos every now and again. But I honestly think Luke Shaw's overlapping game has changed where he doesn't do it as much to protect his longevity in games. So he isn't having to be taken off all the time. So he isn't getting injured. So he isn't like, he can only play one game this week and then another game in 2 weeks' time. I think he had to do that because that explosiveness, especially after his injuries, you don't ever really recapture that where you can just keep doing it over and over again. So for Luke Shaw to be able to, and credit to the medical staff as well to get him back playing as he has been. But for Luke Shaw to play 38 Premier League games this season and to be as solid as he has been and to play out of position sometimes, at centre back, playing left wing, playing left back, I think he deserves some credit for that. I think Luke Shaw's been really good this season. And there was times when I think halfway through this season or at the beginning of the season, we were questioning his commitment to Manchester United. There was those clips where he was at a party. He made some derogatory comments about someone, and there was some stuff about. Wasn't it like about being rich? It was just in poor taste, like about poor people. Whatever it was, I'm sure he was eating custard at the time. But whatever it was, it upset the fan base. But to turn that around and to finish the season, 38 games played, it won't be that easy next season because we'll be competing on more fronts, hopefully, especially in the Champions League. But he deserves a lot of credit. I think Luke Shaw, fantastic this season.
Yep. Yeah. I've got him on the list. When you said it, I've got him. I've got another name on the list, which I'll mention in a minute. But Luke Shaw, like you say, for him to have the injuries that he's had and to get a full season in, he's massive. There was an interview he did a couple of weeks ago, wasn't there, where he was almost in tears about how tough it's been for him and the little niggles he was getting and the hamstring injuries and little groin injuries and stuff. So for him, it obviously suits him, doesn't it? A game a week suits Luke Shaw down to the ground. He can probably keep himself fit. And like you say, you've said it brilliant there, mate, to be fair. For him not to bomb on, for him just to sit in and defend. He's very, very good at that. Very, very good. And great season. And 30-year-old, if you do a game a week next season for him at the big games, you go away to Stamford Bridge, you go away to Anfield. I can't think of a better left back that you'd have in there just to sit in. I think he needs a bit of help. I think he needs to reinforce there. But Luke Shaw, unsung hero, cannot complain at that at all.
Tiny bit of news on that in terms of replacement or competitions at the end of this show. So do stay tuned for that one. It's just breaking at the moment. So we'll talk about that at the end. Everyone will know it by the time this podcast comes out, but you won't, so it's fine. Because you haven't seen it yet, so I still get to surprise you.
I was itching. Could you see me itching then to get in? I just wanted to say one unsung hero. Can I just put him in there? Turn the season around. Big Jim made a big decision halfway. Yes. He made a big decision halfway through this season.
Unsung hero.
He made a big decision halfway through this season, and it paid off. So I'm just going to throw him in there. I said it'd be controversial. Big Jim in the bin. Have that.
pitch him in the bin. I still haven't forgotten what he said about the xenophobic comments that he made. So yeah, I'm not having that. He's not going in the Unsung Hero Awards list. Right.
Nathan's not having it.
Not having him. Don't support billionaires, mate. Never trust them. Scumbags, a lot of them. No one needs that much money. No one needs that much money. I'm telling you now. Right. Okay. Anyway, let's move on. We'll go with you again. I'll let you keep going first because obviously I'll read them out.
Okay.
But Manchester United's most disappointing player award goes to...
Manuel Ugarte.
That's who I've got as well.
Yeah.
That's who I've got as well. It had to be. It was him or Joshua Zirkzee. And there's another one, but I'll leave him to the end because I don't want to dwell on it too long because I think it might be a little bit unfair. But yeah, Ugarte.
Yeah, I've put Ugarte and Xerxes were the two main ones there. Yeah, Ugarte feels like we've got conned, doesn't it? Like we've had Del Boy sell us something from PSG, something we all thought we were getting. Yeah, he's and unfortunately they've gone and bought probably the best young centre midfielder in the world, which we should have got instead, shouldn't we? In Neves, but yeah, I just feel like I don't know if it's a pressure. He's just not big enough, not strong enough, doesn't move the ball quick enough. Confidence obviously got shot from early on in his United career. Never fitted in. It felt like Amorim, because I think he's worked under him before, brought him in as to specify that he was in there. But there was obviously that famous moment where Amorim says, "You're not the player that you was," and he's not the player we all thought he was. So yeah, Ugarte, quite an easy one to be honest with you. Most disappointing player of the season for me.
I think he's disappointing because we kind of expected him to kick on this season. You give him a little bit of credit to adjust to the Premier League, but then this season you want to see him do something. You want to see him compete for that spot with Casemiro. But every single time Ugarte came on the pitch to replace Casemiro, the quality dropped. And it's not, I'm not making these things up. If you look around the squad, when he's coming onto the pitch, there's noticeable chatter between players, as there is anyway. Like you would be chatting to your teammates and stuff like that. But we've all played football at a certain level where it's like, this lad's just getting a game because he turns up every week, and he's crap. We both played. I'm usually that player, but we have played with players like that where it's like when they come onto the pitch, oh mate, we're gonna have to do more work. We're gonna have to get in and around him. And it was not only did the quality drop, but you could tell that he was feeling the pressure as well. Whenever the ball came to him and he was trying to spray a pass, like if he was trying to spray it out wide and put it out of play. If he's trying to play a 5-yard pass, he'd play it to the opposition. If he's trying to play like a long searching ball that Casemiro used to get in behind defences, just didn't have it in his locker at all. It hit the first man. But there was one moment, I almost put this in as my highlight of the season or moment of the season. There was one moment when, was it against Forest away? He tried to play a ball out to Ahmad, and he just played it directly out of play. Like it wasn't even close to where Ahmad was. It was just straight out of play, and I jumped out of my seat and I was like, "You beep 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 beep." Got in the car, beeping my horn at him, and I was like, unreal. Like, how could a professional footballer do that? That's what I would be doing. I'm 44. Do you know what I mean? He's a young man that's played professional football. He's made the Uruguay squad. Don't know how the bloody hell he's done that. Their squad must be absolutely dreadful. But Ugarte, for me, I just think you got to cut your losses with him as well, because it's a mentality thing, a physical thing, and we need an upgrade on it to be able to compete next season. So, yeah, most disappointing player of the season has to be Manuel Ugarte. The other one that I was going to say there, though, before we finish, and I don't want to dwell on it because he's still young. He will come good. I don't doubt that for a second. But in terms of disappointing, and you can take it as you want, but Lenny Yoro did not have the season that we expected him to have. I thought he would nail down a position in central defence. I thought him and De Ligt looked really good together. I thought that they could have done something. Obviously, Dillett's injured. No idea when he'll be back playing again. But he even got surpassed by Harry Maguire, Lisandro Martinez as soon as he came back, Aiden Heaven. Luke Shaw was preferred to him, playing left centre back a couple of times as well. Just didn't feel like he'd quite grasped it. But like I say, I think, and I hope, and I know he will kick on next season. He just needs more consistency, and he needs to put some studs in his boots, because whatever he's wearing, it will like flip flops at times. He just kept slipping all over the bloody place. So yeah,
I agree.
disappointing, but with a caveat of he will get better.
He's a project, isn't he? He's a project, Lenioro, and he's hopefully someone that we can. He just looks a bit lightweight to me, but hopefully he grows into it, and that can take a good pre-season. All doing good. Hopefully, get him in there, because I think the future of Manchester United, if you look at it, is Aiden Heaven, Lenioro, and then two centre halves are what we should be building around. So the next 5 years, that should be another quick name. Can I just put him in there, because I've just thought of him now, because I thought that's who you were going to say. This man, Amad Diallo, for me. I think he's been very disappointing this season. Looked at his stats there: 32 matches, 2 goals, 3 assists. If you'd have told me last season that's what Amad would have produced, I'd have been like, no chance. He's going to get 10 goals. He's going to get at least 8, 9 assists. He's probably starting on the right hand side. Now I think you can quite easily go, well, he's a sub at best in that Manchester United squad. So unfortunately, I'm going to put him in there, because I expect a hell of a lot more from Amad Diallo than that.
To be fair, you've been consistent with this analysis of him for a long time. Since he came back from AFCON, he hasn't been the same player. I think Brian Mbeumo, I think he was unlucky with some of the chances that he had. He was still in the right positions, and he was still doing what he was supposed to do. He wasn't the centre forward, but he was still being played there. He proved in the last couple of games he can still score goals and be in the right position. But you said that about both of them. Amad, I think, more than Mbeumo, he was the one that was just, he lost it when he came back after that international break. And yeah, I want to see more from him next season. I know that we've had this before for the past 2 podcast episodes, but people saying that, how quickly we forget about Amad's potential. I know he's only like 23 and he could definitely turn it around, but it's not about that. It's about how consistent can you be. You've had a really good season. Right, now push on. I don't want to see you get worse after a good season. I want to see you get better. And that's how things should be. So if you're going to have a season where you're on a downturn, it's right that there's going to be questions raised about it. Surely, can't just go, oh yeah, maybe next season they'll be fine. Can't do that.
No, exactly. You can't produce those stats season after season and then still stay at a big club like Manchester United. So big season for him next year for me.
We are down to the last 2 awards for this episode. And, well, the next one is, after the disappointing player of the season, we're going to go to most improved player. So, Paul, Manchester United's most improved player of the season is, for you?
I'll just say the name, and then Patrick Dorgu. Dorgu best.
It's who I've got. Is
it really? Well. I didn't think you'd have him. Right, okay. He's I was thinking around the squad who's improved, and there's been a few, like we just mentioned, who've dropped off actually. He really surprised me, because he came in as like this left back, left wing back, and then when he played there, he was underwhelming. He looked like he didn't know the position, and I thought, well, and it was in the chat a few times. This lad's garbage. What's he doing? He can't do this. He can't do that. He can't tackle. He's just big and can run. And they're like, yeah, that's pretty much. We've wasted, because did you get him in the January? Didn't we got him in January? He came in.
Yeah,
and
January last year.
And,
year, 2025.
Kind of like, that's what we've wasted a transfer window on. Patrick Dorgu. No, I'm not having him. Anyway, quickly just went, no, we have to replay. We need another left winger. And then when he got put in the left wing position, he was just a completely different player. He just started just running. And you're like, what's that? What's that pace then? It really, really surprised me, because I think he went from, well, he did. He literally went from a bench warmer to a starter. and he was starting the big games, and he was probably one of the first, and he was in such great form. Scored obviously a
Yeah.
goal of the season for me, but even that, you were like, wow, where's that come from? But he kept doing it, didn't he? He kept getting in the
Right.
positions, and he just kept bombing up and down, and he looked like he'd do that for 90 minutes. Must have been a nightmare to play against some people. Which, you catch that lad. Oh, I don't want to chase after him. And yeah, he caused mayhem, Nathan. I don't think it was
Yeah.
planned mayhem. I just think he runs. And in teams, you just
Yeah.
need players sometimes that just run and call. And he kept making that run. If people have a high line, he just run past it and they find it.
Right.
And he kept going. He needs to work on his quality and obviously things like that. But for me to completely change my mind and go, and the doggy best memes are absolutely brilliant, aren't they? Some of the
Yeah.
things that were coming out at the same time. And he deserves it. And then he got that injury, and just when you thought he's
At
flying, he got
Arsenal.
that.
At Arsenal as well.
Yeah. And you're like, oh no. And then you realise that we miss him. We miss that running.
Yeah.
We miss that bombing on, because Cunha he gives you a different option, doesn't he? But and then even better than that, Nathan, because I said this last week, I think it was. He's come back from his injury and he looks even hungrier. He looks like he's got, no, I'm gonna kick on now and go. So fair play to the kid. I think most improved player. Surprised me. I didn't think he had them sort of performances in his lockers, because he was producing eight and nines out of tens. And long
Yeah.
be it, mate. Yeah, love it. Yeah, good on the kid.
I've always been a champion of Patrick Dorgu. I think even when the negativity was setting in on him and Amarim came out and said like he's nervous on the ball or he's anxious on the ball, whatever it was, I kept seeing that he just needed the rough edges shaved off, and I could see the potential was there. So I'm not blowing my own trumpet, but because I'm saying that he's the most improved player this season. So I'm admitting that he was like not great, but this season, as you say, moved up to left wing. He turned into Gareth Bale. Like it was being closer to goal gave him that confidence of, well, I don't have to worry, because if I lose the ball, I've got the pace. I can get back, but now that I'm up here, I don't have to worry about getting back. Like just get the ball over and I'll go in for it. And it was a beautiful moment, and you'll remember this as well. When he did score that goal against Arsenal, even he was surprised that he'd scored that goal against Arsenal. Dorgu didn't know what to do to celebrate. He had no idea. He just had a
Yeah.
really big grin on his face. He ran over to Bruno Fernandes for a handshake like he was closing a business deal. And Bruno had to push him to the fans and go, lad, go and
Celebrate.
celebrate. You just scored goal of
Yeah.
the season. Go and do
Yeah.
it. And it was that moment when you're like unassuming player. And I felt like that about him all the time. Unassuming, needs a bit of backing, needs to be told like where his best position is. But he's all heart, all energy. He'll play wherever you want him to. But that left wing position, I think for me, he gave Michael Carrick and Ineos a problem, because they're probably thinking Antoine Semenyo, that's who we wanted. We still need to fill that position next season. But even when he came back from his injury, I mean, he scored at Brighton. He assisted Bruno at Brighton as well. Again, with one of those missed touches. He runs onto the
Yeah.
ball, gets beyond the defenders. He's like, oh, he's lost the ball. Oh, no, he hasn't. He's just laid it off beautifully for the stride of Bruno Fernandes to slot it home. Like, what? How's that happened? Where's this guy come from? But yeah, I think he more than deserves the fact that he was most improved player this season. Easily by a long shot as well. I don't think there's anyone that you could say improved as in like from last season as much as he did. Maybe Casemiro in terms of what he contributed to the game. Kobe Mainu again, but that's due to being played. There's mitigating circumstances for how he improved. But yeah, for me, and you just said Dorgu
Yep.
had to be.
26 games, 4 goals, 4 assists, with a big spell missing injury. And so, fair play. Like, what I thought you were going to say then when you said he caused a problem for Michael Carrick and Ineos is, well, he dropped Cunha, didn't he? He dropped him to play Patrick Dorgu. and he put on the bench, or Sesko was on the bench because Dorgu was flying, absolutely flying.
Yeah.
So yeah, brilliant. Couldn't be more deserving of the award.
He's a good lad. He is a good lad. Right then. Well, we're down to the last one. I'm sure we've got a few little ones that we want to talk about after this, but we're down to the last award, and it is the best moment of the season award. Now, this can be interpreted however you want, mate. So whatever you feel like was the best moment, highlight moment, standout moment, the reason why you will remember the 25-26 season, you can have that. So, Mr. Paul Cropper, the best moment of the season award.
What you sent me was biggest moment of the season award.
That's fine.
So
That's fine.
Is that okay?
Biggest is fine. Biggest is fine.
Which makes me think that you've done what I've done. Okay.
Let me start again. Okay. So I've got the best moment of the season award, but we'll go with the biggest moment of the season award goes to
sacking Ruben Amorim.
There we go. So that was one of the things that I've got. I was going to say, for the best moment of the season, lots to choose from. Ruben Amorim's meltdown was the one that I was going for.
Yeah.
In the Leeds post-match presser, and then getting sacked the following day, which was obviously his plan all along. You don't say stuff about the management if you have any intention of continuing in that position. Doesn't matter what line of work you work in. As soon as you raise your head above the parapet, that's it. You're gone. Maguire's winner at Anfield, Liverpool, again, was another one. And Cunha's winner at the Emirates, could have been that as well. But before I reveal mine, let's talk about this. So Ruben Amorim, he did the press conference. Leeds United, was it a draw? 1-1 draw, I think it was, against Leeds United.
Yep. Yeah, it was. Yep.
Aronson and Cunha, if I remember correctly. Is that right?
Some memory of that on you. I remember Aronson causing havoc.
Well, no, I've just said two names. They could be completely wrong. I've not checked this. So it could be anyone. But the game actually took a backseat to the action that came in the post-match press conference, where Ruben Amorim basically said, I'm paraphrasing now, but if they don't trust me to do my job as manager, not as head coach, then, maybe it's time to look at someone else. And Jason Wilcox said, all right, yeah, let's look for someone else then. Out. So how did you feel after
that? I was obviously mixed, because I kept saying, stick with the manager, get rid of some of these players, blah, 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 like that. But the turning point, I've put a few moments down there. The defeat to 10-man Everton, the game at home to Wolves, there was a lot, and I went to most of these games as well, so I was paying money, which was even more fuming at one. It just became obvious that it wasn't working. A few of the players had obviously turned on. The biggest thing that Ruben Amorim did wrong, and it's obviously been proven now, is what he did to Kobbie Mainoo. I still can't get my head around it. It's obviously, it feels now like it was a personal agenda against the kid, because we can all see how good he is. We can all see the talent that Mainoo's got. Ruben Amorim just didn't fancy him, did he? It was a weird one. So
to move this conversation on, because we've talked about the Kobbie Mainoo versus Ruben Amorim thing a lot, right? It's been clipped. We've had people on our YouTube channel saying that he didn't fit the system that Ruben Amorim wanted to play. I think the larger thing at play here is that Ruben Amorim did not play the players to the best of their strengths. That was the bottom line to it all. So new formation, new tactics. You've got to play like this, and whether Kobbie Mainoo could play that or not, that's in his brain. I just need players that can play my system. And let's not forget, Omar Barada, Jason Wilcox, and Jim Ratcliffe all agreed that this was going to be the way that they were going to move forward. 3-5-2 or 3-5-2-1, whatever. Bloody, I've got all the numbers mixed up there. 3 at the back. That was the set one. With wing backs, right? 5 at the back. he knew that he was coming in to do this job. So when you're, for example, you're doing a job right now, and then someone comes in and goes, "Oh, you've been doing that for the last, it's been successful for the last like 12 months, and you got that award at the company awards last year. Yeah, can you change it? I know we told you that we wanted you to continue doing that, but can you change what it is that you're doing? And you're already struggling. Like, do you know what I mean? That's lack of confidence from the management, from the setup. I'm giving Ruben Amorim a little out here, but when you've been told that this is what you're going to do, we're going to allow you to do it. When you've been told that, and then you got people going interfering, no, we want it like this now. That's not the best environment to be in. And at that point, when they started interfering, they should have just said, "Do you know what? It's not right. We're gonna let you go without any of these like problems, without going to the press, without leaking these stories about Ruben Amorim, without having these arguments, without Ruben Amorim coming out in the press and having to say they're trying to undermine me." They should have had the balls to just say to Ruben, "We don't want this anymore. It's not working. You haven't got the players. We thought that this was how it was going to work. It clearly isn't. Thank you. Goodbye. Here's your 10 mil."
Yeah.
But they didn't.
It's a 5th of January, wasn't it? It was no coincidence that was done just after the opening of the transfer window as well. He was obviously told you're not getting them players that you wanted, mate, to make yourself look better and do what you want to do. And he was like, "What? You're undermining me. You're not giving me any money to spend. You're telling me to change my formation. You're doing it. You know what? That I'm going, and you're going to have to sack me after this." And he walked into that into that press conference being like, "Tell you what, I'm going to get myself sacked. There you go, have that. I'm off, and I'll take me 9-10 million of it." And like we've just discussed, Nathan, it turned our season around, didn't it? Because we wouldn't have got Champions League if Bruno Amorim was still in there. So thank you very much for what you did or what you didn't do. Now we're obviously more excited, aren't we, to go ahead?
Yeah.
So we don't want another pre-season Ruben Amorim in charge. Just didn't work.
I think
it doesn't always work at big clubs, does it?
Yeah. I think the interesting thing, or the barometer that you can measure this by, was how much activity was going on in our WhatsApp group when he did get sacked. Do you know what I mean? Like it is a moment that you will remember the season for obvious reasons. But it was like, oh my God, yeah, he's gone. Like even after the game, after he'd said what he'd said, I think we were all in the chat going, "He's gone. He's dead man walking." And I think it was at that point, I may have misremembered this. I think it was at that point that was the moment when you'd gone, yeah, I've had enough of this.
Yeah.
And eventually he did get booted out.
Yeah.
Top stuff.
And it made our season, didn't it? Yeah.
Exactly. Right. Okay. So Ruben Amorim getting sacked is the one of the biggest moments of the season. It had to be. But for me, out of all of those things, and I did mention a few things before: Maguire's goal, Cunha's winner at the Emirates, even Patrick Dorgu's goal. Standout moments. I'm going to go with this. It just had to be.
I'm so glad you put that in there. I've got it as an extra funniest moment. Cunha Bruno. I've got it down here, and I'm so glad you put it in. How good was that? It was brilliant, wasn't it? That performance was brilliant.
And I think that's it. I think it typified the performance. It wasn't just that commentary from the Arabic commentator from beIN Sports. It wasn't just that. It wasn't just the rondo. It was everything that it signaled in that game. It was, we're alive. You thought we were dead. Michael Carrick's come in. It's his first game. Everyone expected us to get beat. Darren Fletcher couldn't really get a tune out of that team. Went out of the cup to Brighton. I think it was a 1-1 draw with Burnley. We was like, yeah, we're on a hide into nothing. We're on a hide into nothing. If he gets a draw out of this game, Michael Carrick, then we'll be happy with it. But he didn't just get a draw out of the game. He won that game, and he dominated, and the team dominated, and it was epitomised by that rondo that just left Rayan Cherki just chasing shadows. And I loved it. Honestly, it was beautiful to watch. And in that game as well, Kobe Mainu also sent Antoine Semenyo for a hot dog. He
Yes.
just drop of the shoulder, gone straight inside.
Yeah.
And it was like that perfect encapsulation of all that stress that we'd felt as Manchester United fans for that entire season, the ups and downs. It felt like that release and the crowd cheering, that the little rondo, the crowd cheering, but Kobe just turning Antoine Semenyo as well, cheering the goals. Everything just felt like it just all came together at once in a perfect storm, and the performance was fantastic. So it
Yeah.
just had to be in there.
Took me back quite a few years, that Nathan, to when we were good, because you're like, "Oh, this is brilliant. This is what it felt like." And do you know what? My little one, she's obviously she's getting into football and stuff like that, and took her to a few games, and she was like, the games that I mentioned earlier, she was like, "Oh, this is rubbish." And then I made her watch that game, and she was like, "Oh, wow." And I'm like,
Mm,
I said, "This is what we used to be like. This is how we used to
yeah,
play, and this is how we used to get at teams, and we used to knock the ball around, and we used to snap into tackles, and we used to this is what football at Manchester United is like." And it was
yeah.
so long since we've had a performance in a game like that, wasn't it? To do it in a derby, Cherky's head on a spin, bullying everyone, Haaland getting bullied, loved it, absolutely loved it. Yeah,
Haaland getting
yeah,
hooked. Haaland
yeah,
getting
yeah,
hooked.
yeah.
Was that the
And then
first
going
game
in
that
with
he'd was that the first game that he didn't, have a shot on target, I think? Might have
I
been.
don't think he got a kick, did he? He didn't get a kick all game. A lot of them City like that, and then going in work on the Monday, going like, "Winning United out on have that, lads, brilliant." But they're the moments we remember, Nathan. I'm so glad you put that in, brilliant.
Yeah. Good
And
stuff. Good
I'll throw
stuff.
this out. That'll be the
Go
first
on.
time Pep Guardiola thought, "Yeah, maybe this is my last season here." Throw
Yeah.
that in.
The rebuild's too big. I think
Yep.
he was given some nice presents on his way out, Ryan Cherky, Mark Gay, and Antoine Semenyo, but I think ultimately he knew that that rebuild's going to be big. So Maresca, I mean, he's going to fail, isn't he? He'll be sacked by January. I'm telling you now. Anyway, right. So that's the awards portion over. If you do have any other awards, if you're listening to this or you're watching this on YouTube and you've got any other awards that you want to hand out, pop it in the comments or put it on social media and we'll pick it up off of there as well. But we're going to move on to a little bit of a special. I'm dropping it on him now, but a Croppers transfer corner. But just give us a second to try and get some names down. Before we do Croppers transfer corner, I did bring this up before because Manchester United have released their season in numbers on their social media channels. So I wanted to
Okay.
read these out before. I was meant to do it right at the start of the show, but I forgot. I got excited. So here we are now. So they've released it. Our season in stats. That's what they've said. And then we've got the best performing Premier League side of the year so far. So we knew that. It's a bit of a weird one, that. There's no real
Yeah, it is.
tangible,
Yeah.
like, outcome to that. I know Carrick got the most points out of every manager since he started at United, but it's a bit of a weird one to start with, that one.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I don't like that.
41 points in 19 games, so decent. United were the only team not to lose back-to-back fixtures. The last time we didn't record successive defeats in a league campaign was 2017, 2018. Interesting little factoid there. Brian and Brumo. All three of our outfield summer signings hit double-figure goal tallies. We knew that one, which was good. We'll just talk about those three in a second. Only the second time in Premier League history that a trio of new boys have scored 10 or more in their maiden campaign. I think the last ones was Arsenal.
Podolski was one, wasn't it? But I think
Yeah,
Podolski seems to remember him.
Santi Cazorla and someone else. Anyway, we don't need to spend much time on that. 10 goals for Cunha, 11 goals for Sesko, and 11 goals for Brian and Buemo. No team took more shots at goal than United in 25-26 season, although Manchester City did match our 595 attempts. Bit of a weird way to phrase that we are tied with Manchester City for most shots attempted. That's a weird one, isn't it?
It is, isn't it? Yeah, 595. Sounds like a lot, doesn't it? Wonder how many were 40-yarders from Bruno.
Well, out of those 595, how many do you think were on target? Because that's the next stat that comes up.
I remember Dallo spooning about 60 of them. I'll go with under 200.
Oh, it's over 200. 215
Is it?
shots on target.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And 119 goals Manchester United scored in all competitions last season.
That's some going.
Decent.
Mm.
I think in the
Yeah.
league, it was something like an improvement of 30 goals from last season.
Really?
Just in the Premier League.
That's
So
what happens when
it goes to
that's
show.
what happens when you spend money in the right place, isn't it? The needed forwards.
Exactly.
There you go.
I wanted to put, obviously, it's the end of season awards. We haven't really talked about, we haven't talked about Benjamin Sesko, Matthias Cunha, and Brian Mbeumo massively. But fair play to Ineos. They looked at what we was doing in terms of like going forward. They looked at what Højlund was doing. They looked at Rashford, and they recognised that we needed strikers. It was obvious to anyone that pays any money to watch them, or anyone that just watches them on TV. We needed people that could finish, and they went out and they got them. They wanted Matthias Cunha, they wanted Brian Mbeumo, and they've chased Benjamin Sesko for years, and they managed to land all three of them in one window. That is the type of transfer window we need again, but this time for midfielders and possibly a right back, I would say. But yeah, what did you think about their performance this season, the three of them?
I think they've all been a 7.5 out of 10, aren't they? They've all been steady. As you said there, they've all got to 10 goals each. If you can't get someone to score 30 goals, which is not easy to do nowadays in the transfer market as a striker, you go and get the goals spread across your team. And we've said it a few times, haven't we, where if one's not performing and scoring, the other one was. If one wasn't coming up with a goal, the other one was. I think Sesko's the one that's come in and done better than I thought he might do. I think Mbeumo and Cunha, I think I wanted a bit more from them. I probably expected a bit more from them. Mbeumo surprised me with actually how good he was. His first touch is better than it was. He's running, his pace. I was like, wow, because when we paid that much money for him, I can't remember. I probably said, get Semenyo. He's the other one we need. Then when Mbeumo, you're like, he's good, this lad. He's a lot better than I thought he was. And it was a bit like, when we signed him, and then, so his pace at the Chelsea game stands out when he ran across and caused havoc. Cunha, as you've said a number of times, it seems to have been a moments player, but I think he's got more comfortable in there, and I think he will.
Yeah.
I think he'll have a much better season. I'm so glad we bought Cunha, because if he went to if he went to like an Arsenal or he went to a City, I think he'd have been excellent. I think he's in this United team. He does need. Bruno gets in his way quite a bit, but he does need other players, other bits of the jigsaw to be like, go on, you be our superstar. And I think he's got the potential to be a superstar, Cunha. He's just been given the number 9 shirt at Brazil, and I think he's got that in him to kick on a lot more, to be fair. I think he got, all in all, I'm happy.
He got a strange little award at the Celestio. They said something about him. He was their most unselfish player, I think it was, in the lead up to the World Cup. Yeah. Which is...
Do you know what? Carrick said this in his thing at the end of the season, didn't he? He said, this squad, they're all good people. And I think Mbeumo, Sesko, and Cunha, you can tell they're good people, can't you? You can tell they're good lads. You can tell they work hard. You can tell they're good around the changing rooms. They're nice people. And I think that's what Manchester United should be built on. They're not spoilt. They're not Garnacho, basically, is what I'm saying. They're not Rashford.
Yeah.
They're not them type of lads. And I think I'm all for having a squad full of people like that who run through brick walls. All right, if you're not going to produce 10 out of 10 performances, don't care. But when you've got good people in there who are doing the right thing, you will get somewhere in football. So for me, I'm more than happy with them. Yeah, I do think they need a little bit more help, especially Sesko. I think he needs someone to learn off. But all in all, mate, I'm so glad the United players.
Yeah, me too. I think we can both agree on that. I think most Manchester United fans will as well. Going to a special. Do you want to do the jingle? Your Croppers Transfer Corner, so then we can kick it off properly.
Do I want to do the jingle? Stupid question. Go for shots for corner. Loves it.
Go
on.
It's a big one this week. We weren't going to do any transfer news, but then I've just noticed that The Athletic have done a big article on what they're calling the deal sheet. So some of the names that are on there, they're basically saying that the most advanced at the moment is Edison, and they're saying that they're just waiting to line up the other things for the 26-year-old. They got priorities across the pitch, but they're like they did with Mbeumo and Cunha and Semenyo, they're just lining them up to see how these dominoes fall, let's say. So they're looking to sort that out. Alex Scott is apparently about to sign a new contract at Bournemouth because they want to try and keep him. So he might be one that, I mean, there's two ways of looking at that. They might give him a new contract which has a release clause which helps Bournemouth to get a fee for him, or he might just want to stay. We don't know. They might just want to reward his standout season, and he might not be a Manchester United target anymore. So, two midfielders there. It looks like, and this is going to be an unfortunate one for you, Sandro Tonali. It's going to be unlikely because Newcastle United are looking for 100 million for him.
Right.
Not having that though, are you?
No.
100 mil?
No, I'm not.
No. Of course not. And then the last one that was on the list was Lewis Hall. 50 mil, apparently. It looks like he could be on his way out. I think Newcastle will have to sell. I think PIF, the Saudi investment fund, is in trouble. They're pulling out of lots of different sports at the moment. And I think, in fact, I know they were looking for investment into Newcastle United from a third party. So it wasn't going to be, they was looking to sell off some of the shares inside Newcastle United. So I think they might be not strapped for cash, but they need to move things around in terms of PSR. So Lewis Hall might be the one that comes in. I could see him being a very good Luke Shaw successor. But as I say, every single week, and you can put this on a t-shirt, left wing back or left back is not a priority. I think I just can't see it. There's so many other places that you go and spend that money.
You have said that. We need a left back, Nathan. Lewis Hall. If he comes in, future England international, will probably play there. He's your left back for a good number of years, isn't he? At that price, probably a fair price. What did we pay for Luke Shaw? So many years ago, paid 26. Over 30 million. See if around there. So you think if you're getting the man that's going to replace him, 45, 50 million, probably a fair price. I'll just throw a name out there that I will probably take ahead of him. Would be the lad at Bournemouth. True fair.
Yeah.
I think he's outstanding. Yeah, he's had an outstanding season. I remember watching him. I think it might have been the first game of the season away at Anfield, and he came in to replace Kirkes, didn't he? And he was outstanding. And I was like, they've done very well there, Bournemouth, to have these players in there. The thing is with Manchester United this season,
well. Rayan, in January.
Yeah,
he scored his first goal for Brazil the other night.
Yeah, he looks. I saw Jermaine Defoe talking about him, saying he looks like a Gareth Bale regen. And the more you watch him, you go, oof. And you mentioned it to me, and I thought, really, that a lot of these big clubs are looking at him already, weren't they? After him playing 3 or 4 games of Bournemouth, and I thought, really, is he that good? And then when you watch him, you go, oh, he just moves differently. But yeah, the thing with Manchester United now is we can't sign all of them. You can't go and sign Anderson, Tonali, Edison, and you have to, and then Hayden Hackney, Alex Scott. Can't sign.
Hayden Hackney's going to Everton. Apparently, he prefers to move to Everton.
Well, he probably knows he'll start there, doesn't he? But this is where United players. I want him. We want him. You can't have all of them. So you're going to have to narrow it down as to what we need, because it's pointless going getting Tonali, Edison, Matis Fernandes, Alex Scott, you're going to miss out on most of these players. So you have to narrow it down and say, right, okay, we're happy with paying that kind of money for Fernandes. We're happy with paying 35 million for Ederson. And you have to be quite honest. Manchester United are not in a position where we can just go, there's 100 million, 110 million, 120 million for a centre midfielder. We're just not in that position yet. And it's not going to line up. The stars aren't going to align for us to do what a lot of United fans want us to do. We just have to be honest of where we are and plug the holes that we need with quality, with value for money.
I think you're spot on there. They haven't got as much money as they need to do. A lot of it will be determined, how much we spend determines on how much we can recoup in transfers for players going out. I know you've got Jadon Sancho's massive salary off the bill this season. You've got Casemiro's off the bill, which, that amounts to millions that you can then spend on the next player that's coming in. They've got that cap, haven't they? Is it 120,000 for new players coming in? I think they introduced the cap and they weren't going to go above that. So they'll be doing something similar again this season. Before we finish this, Marcus Rashford, it seems like he's going to be reporting back for Manchester United training for pre-season, because Barcelona, the scumbags that they are, have decided that they don't want to pay 26 million, the release clause that was put into the contract of his loan. They want to pay half of that. They want to pay 13 million for him. What do you see happening with Marcus Rashford now?
I see Marcus Rashford in a swap deal for Rafael Leao, is what I think. That just makes sense. Not that I'm full. I think it's just like for like, to be honest with you. But it's fresh for the pair of them. I just think that works. I think it all lines up. All right, Barcelona, if you're not going to pay that, we can go in this direction. I don't think it's out of what's the word? I don't think it's silly to think Marcus Rashford can go to Italy and be a success. Leao's come out this week and said, "Yeah, I'm done. I'm looking for a new adventure." He also did an interview where he got asked who's his favourite team in the Premier League, and he said Manchester United because Ronaldo was his idol. I can see United going, "All right, Barcelona, you're not going to pay that. Well, okay. Do you fancy a little bit of Marcus Rashford?" And you know what? I think he'd do very, very well in that league, to be honest, Marcus Rashford. That's what makes sense to me. Makes sense.
I think there's a big. The wider thing here is that Man United have to show that they're no mugs in the transfer market, because they've got Christopher Vivell, they've got Jason Wilcox, they've got Omar Barada, they've got these people now that are taking control of transfers and showing that they can actually compete in the market on budget, or just getting these little cheeky deals in for without the United tax. If they were to now sell Marcus Rashford for 13 million, there's nothing stopping another team trying to do that to him further down the line. They've got to be hard line with it. If it is a case, as you say, if it is a case where they're like, we're not going to pay the 26 million, it's 13 million, or he can go back to Carrington, bring him back, and then hawk him around. And to be honest, if I was a betting man, I would say they're probably already sounding out other clubs to take Marcus Rashford anyway. They're not just going to go, but no, it's Barcelona or bust. They'll be hawking him around. We can get you with this swap deal. We can do this. We can do that. They're not stupid. They'll do it. Atletico Madrid, keep an eye on Atletico Madrid with this one as well. I've got a feeling if Julian Alvarez goes to Barcelona, Atletico Madrid might just come into the picture with Marcus Rashford. And I think they'll probably pay the 26 million as well.
Well, if you think of the age of Rashford, what he's done this season, a lot of European clubs will be looking at it and going, fancy that at that price. Yeah, that's a bit of a bargain. Obviously, I've not spoken to a United fan that wants him back in the first team, wants him back in the squad after the way he left. If you don't pay it, dig your heels in, right? Shove it. We'll go elsewhere with Marcus Rashford. And Marcus Rashford will probably go where United tell him, because what option does he have?
Yeah. Exactly. What option does he have? Maybe he'll be on here on the podcast.
Get him on. Wife beater. We'll all wear wife beaters like you did with that interview. Let's get the wife beaters on, lad.
Oh God, that was embarrassing. He got his
It was
move though to
cringy, man.
Barcelona out of
He
that,
did.
so it's fair
He
enough.
did.
But yeah, it was a mad one. Anyway, that's it. End of the podcast. We have done our awards for the end of the season. Done a little bit of transfer news. I think the next ones that we will do, I think we're going to have a little bit of a break between now and the first game of the World Cup. So we won't be here
Okay.
next week, but we will be the week after. And then it's going to be a little bit of World Cup chat, obviously about Manchester United players that are playing. Maybe do a little bit of Cropper's Transfer Corner. Do a bit of
Why not?
transfers.
Other
Maybe you
sing
can do
song.
some
Other sing
scouting.
song. Don't we? Hopefully there'll be
Do a
some
bit of
movement by
scouting.
then, Nathan. I'm always doing scouting, mate. That's what I
There
do.
we go.
Just what I do.
There we go. Excellent. Good stuff. So yeah, no podcast next week, but we will be back the following week with a bit of transfer stuff and a bit of World Cup stuff. So thanks for listening as always. And last one, the newsletter, that is also being parked just for now. So if you've been getting the newsletter and wondered where it was last week, it's not gone anywhere. It is gone back to the drawing board for something that's bigger and better for next season. So yeah, do still sign up for that at fergiesgunpodcast.com to see the old ones that we've done. But until then, thanks for listening, and we'll speak to you again in a couple of weeks' time.